Welcome to the White Sox REKAP Podcast. I am Ryan McGuffey, and it's all brought to you by our proud partners at the Illinois Tollway, who remind you to slow down and save lives. All right, so the White Sox have had quite the roller coaster. It started down, then they started to peak and went up, and now it feels like we've kind of crashed again. For those watching, I'm doing the roly-poly of what a roller coaster looks like, and it hasn't been great as of late. It seems as if maybe the excitement has turned into a lull with the young rookie core. However, that young rookie core is still worth hanging on to and still worth watching every single night as they mature into everyday players for the Chicago White Sox. So we're about at the halfway point, not quite there yet, but we are coming up on the halfway point of the MLB season, which is hard to believe. So BA and I are going to grade the White Sox rookie class as they currently stand right now. A's, F's, incompletes, in-betweens, we have it all for you on the White Sox REKAP Podcast. And we want to remind you real quick, a quick timeout to talk about something serious. We've all said it before, if only I had slowed down. The Illinois Tollway's new campaign is called If Only, and it's a powerful reminder that speeding doesn't just put you at risk, it affects everyone on the road. Every crash leaves someone wishing they had done things differently. So take the extra time, slow down, save lives, including yours, depend on it. And we're proud to partner with the Illinois Tollway. Brian Anderson and myself, Ryan McGuffey, grading the White Sox rookie class here in mid-June on the White Sox REKAP Podcast. And it starts right now. Brian Anderson, always good to see my guy back, matching baby blues, which doesn't surprise me. You and I are always in tandem here. Good to see you, buddy.
You're welcome, America. This podcast, if I'd have done this much homework and research on the pitchers I was facing when I played, I'd still be playing.
All right, so I gave BA a list of 8 White Sox rookies that are either currently with the club or have been up long enough to make an assessment on thus far. We are not including the Hagen Smiths and the Noah Schultzes and the Braden Montgomerys. Maybe when we do this again, this is kind of like it's like a progress report that we're sending home to the parents. Yeah. These aren't final grades. We're going to do this again in the second half when we have kind of the entire sample size and maybe some other names in there. But for right now, we're going to go one by one with the 8 guys. We have 4 position players. We have 4 pitchers. You want to start with position players or pitchers? I'm going to give you the lead.
Considering I was both, we'll start with position players and then mosey on down to the pitcher, since that's what I did towards the end of my career.
All right, let's go with let's start with Tim Elko, who he's been on the shuttle, Charlotte to Chicago, to Charlotte to Chicago, back to Charlotte. What have you seen from Tim Elko, and what is your letter grade for Tim Elko?
So first and foremost, I'm on the Tim Elko train. I'm on the bandwagon. I have been since he was in college because he absolutely eviscerated us when I was at Arizona. But, for me, here's the way I look at it. I give him a C- because I don't want to be a homer. He's 26 years old. He's kind of nowadays, right? Like that's a little bit older to get called up. But C-. And for me, he's going to be a 250 plus guy. Like he can really hit. I don't think he's just a power bat. So, I think he's been a little bit disappointing. He's hitting 155. He strikes out around about a 50% clip. We gotta find a way to alleviate that. In fact, I thought about that. He does some things that are similar to Yoan Moncada, right? Like he gets good pitches to hit. Moncada, one of his biggest downfalls, he got himself in the gnarly 2-strike counts, right? Like Tim Elko, because he's so short to the ball, he's a bigger guy. All he has to do is touch it. So he got to cut down on those strikeouts, but keep himself out of 2-strike counts. I think if he gets a fastball or pitch to hit out of a plate early, got to take advantage of it, cut down on strikeouts.
All right. I think C- is fair. I'm going to give just a flat out C. And for many of the reasons you said, I think he is maybe a little bit who we've seen. And maybe that's why it took him till he's 26 to get here. I think there's so much future still ahead of Tim Elko, and it might be here in Chicago, certainly in the short term. The one real bright thing I think the White Sox did was pave the way for Elko to kind of have the job. Now I know he's back down again. He'll be back up, and I think when he comes back up, there's a shot that he stays maybe the rest of the way, and just you figure out who he is at the end of the year. But when I say pave the way, Andrew Vaughn is no longer a White Sox. I mean, we did not see that coming. We haven't even discussed that. Andrew Vaughn, when he was sent down with Tim Elko, it felt like the beginning of the end. I didn't know it at the time, but as the longer he stayed down there and continued to struggle, it felt very much to me like if the White Sox didn't find a partner for Andrew Vaughn, he could be DFA'd by the end of the trade deadline. So Elko's got a shot. We haven't seen, I want to see, when I look at the splits, I want to see him raking against lefties, right? I want to see something that just jumps off the page. Right now, there's just not a lot. It's kind of all or nothing. It's homer or strikeout. He's got 9 hits and 4 of them are long balls.
Yeah, he's 4th or 5th on the team in homers. He's got 450 at bats.
That's a different podcast. So I'm going to go right now, solid C. I think he's average. Has a chance to go up or down. We'll see what happens. All right.
So I'm checking us off on agreed on one. Because, hey, if you get an A- in school, you don't go home and tell your mom you got an A-. Say you got an A. So
you got an A.
Both agreed for a C grade.
Yeah, C or C-. The parents probably aren't happy. Let's go with Edgar Caro. I was going to go with Teal, but let's go with Edgar Caro. I'm really curious to hear. I think this one should be fun.
So for me, I'll start off with a letter grade. I give him a B. And I know that you gave him a B. I can read your mind. That's what us brothers do. So for me, I love the fact he's leading the team. I mean, he's hitting 284, right? Like, you got to commend the guy. You tip your cap to a kid like him. Base hit machine. For me, the reason why I gave him a tick, just a letter grade off, is, for those younger guys, he's slugging 324. I mean, I get that power comes. It's not always going to come right off the bat, but my gosh, to slug 324, I mean, you gotta in hitters counts, you gotta drive the ball in the gaps. I think he's capable of doing that.
So solid B.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna give him a B-.
Yes.
Which might some people might say it's a little harsh. I think, dude, first of all, he's 22 years old. Sure. I don't want to lose sight of the fact that this guy has just catapulted his way into the big leagues by doing everything right. I love what you said about leading the team. I know batting average isn't what it once was before. I think it does matter when you're a rookie and you're coming up. And the guy's come up pretty clutch too. I mean, he's come up with a lot of big hits. I think about Boston. He has 70.
Right when he got called up.
Yeah, right when he got called up. Big opportunity. Boom, delivers. I'm with you on the slug. He doesn't have a home run. I need to see some pop from Edgar Caro. I don't want him to just be, I'm okay if he's a 35 doubles guy with 10 homers. That's fine. We need to see some pop, and I'm looking forward to seeing that in a second. From a pitch framing standpoint, and this is not, I pulled this up. Speaking of research, he's not the best pitch framer, and quite frankly, very few rookie catchers come up and take the league by storm in pitch framing. Like Alejandro Kirk, that squatty little dude that's 5'6". Yeah. He has stolen 7 runs by himself. Okay. Wow. You got to jump. So of the guys who are on the list who are qualified catchers with a certain, you have to have, 500. I actually just did 100 minimum pitches, 100, because I wanted to get Kyle Teal on this list. Edgar Caro is 72nd of 76 catchers when it comes to pitch framing. He's negative. He's -4 in terms of catcher framing runs, which means these are the analytics, which means he's lost 4 runs in his framing. And then you look at strike percentage. Edgar Caro is near the bottom, 74th out of 76. So look, I'm not going to be too harsh on pitch framing because we hear so much about it and a lot of people don't know it. That needs to, if you told me he's middle of the pack there and the bat is 284, then I'm going, dude, this is like an A- player right now.
And he'll improve. I mean, now that he knows he's going to be in the big leagues, Catsy will get with him and start really working with him on that. It'll take one. He'll go to winter ball. He'll probably go to winter ball. He'll work on that, and he'll come back better for it. I think I'm most excited maybe about Edgar Caro in the second half. So B for you, B- from me. Let's go Kyle Teal. For me, again, I just don't think there's not enough there. But if I'm going to critique him, I'll just be devil's advocate here. I know he only has 20-something at-bats or whatever the case may be, right? Or not a ton. But he's got 1 RBI. It's like, and again, the White Sox stink. I know they're not very good right now, but anytime you're rolling out double digits, like you want to kind of match at least an RBI every 10 at bats. I mean, just to keep up with the Joneses, right? And again, just like with Elko, he's striking out a lot. If you're not going to hit for a bunch of power, man, you got to cut down on strikeouts. I know that was the dig on me is I would get 2 strike counts and just kind of like not compete and have bad at bats and strike out. I wasn't a big power hitter. And so striking out 100 times a year at that pace, you need to hit 15 to 20 homers. So I gave him no grade.
So incomplete. Let's just call it. Yeah. We're going to call it incomplete. Okay.
Yeah.
I also he can't have a grade. It's just not fair, unless he in his 28 plate appearances come up and gone, 20 for 22. Then we're just laughing the entire time. I think he's so intriguing. I love everything that he says. He's one of those guys that's like, dude, I'm a catcher. I'm here. I think for culture, you got to be careful though. Like, I don't want this to be Nick Swisher coming in here being the rah-rah guy.
Oh yeah. That's your brother. That's your boy.
That's my boy. Yeah. Your cousin. I don't want something like that. I don't anticipate him to be like that. There's a lot of good dudes in that clubhouse, but you look at what he did in Charlotte. 295, 394, 492 with an 886 OPS, 8 bombs, 30 RBIs, 10 doubles, a triple. I think that's coming. The interesting thing is how the White Sox are going to maneuver the Edgar Caro, Kyle Teel situation the rest of the way with Miguel Vargas at first base, third base, DH. Like those 3 guys is a 3-headed monster, figuring out how to get them 5 games a week, 5 days a week in the lineup. So
they'll figure it out on a really good team.
It'd be tough. They will figure it out. And I think because of that, like Kyle Teel, it's impossible to grade him right now. Even in his limited innings, he's down there with Edgar Caro in terms of pitch framing, et cetera. So all of that, like, I need a full body of work. He's an incomplete. I like what I see from Edgar Caro. The idea of having a catch in tandem is fun because we haven't had one in Chicago in a long time. All right. Sure. Now on to maybe, certainly guy at the top of most lists, Chase Mydroth. We'll round out our position players here when we grade.
Yeah, I gave him a tougher grade. Not because I don't see the potential. I think I gave him a tougher grade because I see he has more upside. I think he's capable of more. So I gave him a C+. I know he came out of the gates with a lot of rah-rah and all that stuff. He walks a lot. But for me, again, just like with Caro, right, he's slugging 337. And my knock on him, he's got 150-plus at-bats. And I know that the White Sox aren't scoring a ton of runs. I know they're not a good team. But he's got 9 RBI. Like, 9. Like, I think about a time I came off the bench in 08, had similar amount of at-bats, right? Like playing against lefties, coming off the bench, pinch hitting, spot start. I think he had 25 to 30. It's like he's got to have 25 ribbies right now, or like 20. I mean, he's got 9.
So, but what about he's sitting at the top of the lineup a lot of the times?
I know, but again, just like pure cycle alone, just going through the things, he should have 20 ribbies. And I'm just saying that
he don't have a good enough offense.
I agree, but he might. And again, I'm looking at something where I think it's realistic, even on a bad team, to say, hey, man, Chase Mydroth should have 50 RBIs and 600 plate appearances. I don't think that's a terrible ask. Right now, he's on pace for like 25.
All right. So a C+.
C+. And I'm here harsh. And I'm a fan.
Here's where I'm going. And let me preface this by saying Chase Mydroth is a 100 OPS plus player. That is exactly league average. Okay. That's what he is offensively right now. He has been through a little bit of a rut as of late, but he's done this before already this year where he's gone. We talked about the roller coaster to start the podcast. He's at home. This is what he is at home. 312, 418 on base, 387, 805. On the road, though, he's a complete flip. For whatever reason, 239, 287 on base, a 571 OPS.
So what'd you give him? What grade did you give him?
I'm giving him an A-. Here's
why.
I'm giving him an A-. Here's why. I'd like to see a little cleaner fielder. I'm a little more, and maybe it's because he's played more games at short than second. I think he feels like, to me, ideally, I'm playing him at second base. But right now, until Colson Montgomery's here, I think he's got to be your guy. He needs to be in the lineup every day, BA. The White Sox haven't had a guy like this. I can't think of a guy the White Sox have had in the lineup since like going back to 20 years ago when you guys were playing.
Yeah.
Like he reminds me of Tadahito Iguchi.
Yeah.
The
No, he's got some
the
scrappiness, but Gooch could hit. Gooch would be a big slug. He's big time, like 15 to 20 homers with a ton of doubles. So
yeah, the difference between Tadahito Iguchi as a rookie though, and Chase Mydroth is that Tadahito came in was like 30 years old. He was. I'm looking at him right now.
It's true.
He was
It's
30.
true.
So he reminds me of that guy who's going to do all the things at the top of the lineup, hitting second. He's going to give up an at bat to hit the ball over to get the guy, or hit the ball to the right side to get the guy over. He is going to be patient. He's going to get he's going to take a ton of pitches. He's going to hit the ball to the right side when the first baseman's playing off the bag. I've seen it so much. I'm giving him an A- because he's everything I wanted him to be out of the gate. He's a 1.1 WAR player as we tape this right now. And I think on a winning team, he is a role type guy, but you're going to remember the hell out of him when he has his games like Tadahito did. So sure. I'm giving him an A-. I think he might fall into solid B territory by the end of the year, but everything I've liked and wanted, the White Sox have not had a guy do this at the top of the lineup, just even if he sees 7 pitches.
Oh, there's no doubt. He's shown way more maturity in him and Carroll than any other hitter on the team. But you know what you made me do? Because I respect you so much, Guff, I changed my grade to a B-.
Oh, no. Oh, wait. Did mom call home and make the teacher trade?
Yes, she did. My mom filed a formal complaint with the dean of students, and I got my grade bumped up so I could graduate with honors.
Oh, all right. So Chase Mydroth, you said it's a B-?
Yeah, I changed it to a B-.
Okay. B-. I have A-. I like. Okay, so let's go.
We're 3 for 4 on that one.
That's fine. I actually like that we're not on the same page.
I know. All the fans are like, who are these turds?
It's fun that we're not. All right, so to the pitching staff, and it's kind of a mixed bag here.
Mix it up on me here.
Let's go with there's 2 Rule 5 guys in this list, which is impressive. Let's go with maybe the lesser of the 2, lesser of the bigger names. Mike Vassell. What do you see from Mike Vassell thus far in terms of grading?
He's a 2 pitchers in that rotation or in that staff that I was like, the White Sox don't deserve him right now. You know, I mean, what's this? I gave him an A-. First off, he's a sub-2 ERA, and he's just consistent, man. Like these poor guys, like between him and Smith, and even Burke, I'll toss in there. Between him and Smith, man, like they just go out there and they're probably like, you know, grabbing a beer or dinner after the game, going like, can we score some fucking runs, please? Like, what are we doing? So to have a sub-2 out of the bullpen is incredible.
Yeah, and I think long-term he might be a starter. They're already starting to stretch him out. He started 2 games, talked to some of the people with the White Sox, and I think that's where they're leaning with him. You got to keep in mind, and I've been saying this all year, I'm worried about the insurance of some of these guys once they hit 100 innings. You know, you're talking about a pitching staff that has never done it. Like outside of Jonathan Cannon, who's on the shelf, you got a bunch of guys who have never thrown 100 innings in the big league. So not that Mike Vassell has, but like at least and they're going to get, by the way, I expected him to be. Martin Perez is coming back. That's what I've heard.
That's great news.
He's going to be ready to rock maybe right after the All-Star break. So that's going to be good. Just for the insurance and have a vet. I don't think he'll be traded but I expect Adrian Hauser to be traded. He'll be a lottery ticket. If Aaron Savali takes up innings and pitches like Hauser, I think he'll be gone for a lottery ticket. So Vassell could give insurance. I'm with you. This has to be an A-. Anytime you're talking about a Rule 5 find that contributes in a way that he has done, you got to give Bannister and Katz a ton of credit here. I mean, and obviously the entire front office, but you have 2 guys, obviously opportunity here with the White Sox. Vassell's done everything asked. I think right now with the sub-2 ERAs, we taped this, we're almost halfway through the season, and he's transitioning into the rotation. Vassell's definitely an A-. All right, let's go Sean Burke. Now, somebody would be like, well, Sean Burke's not a rookie. He only pitched in 4 games last year. He's absolutely a rookie. The White Sox opening day starter, Sean Burke, he has had a bit of a roller coaster season. Sure. And again, you're talking about a guy who is a rookie, okay? He is currently 3-7 with a 4.71, takes the ball every single day. He made 4 appearances last year in 19 innings for the White Sox. Sean Burke, what are we giving him?
So I was tough on him because for one reason, I think I gave him a C+. I think he's done a great job, consistent for me, and he doesn't have a ton, but he's not a big strikeout guy, right? I only think he averages like a 0.5 strikeouts per inning pitched, right? So for me, I'm telling you, got to be like 5-1, like 7-1 strikes to walks, right? And I know that just doesn't grow on trees, but if you're not going to strike out a lot of guys, you can't walk anybody. So I think that's one thing he can work on is like, hey man, like pick and choose your spots. You want to walk someone with the first base open, that's fine. But again, I just think there's room for improvement there.
Yeah, I was hoping you were going to go into the B territory because I think I'm living in this. I was going to say C, but he's got to have a little bit. I think he's C plus. I do.
Yeah.
So we're on the same page on that one. Prior to his last start, he got banged up pretty good. Houston took it to him pretty good. 7 earned runs.
As they do.
Yeah. I mean, so if you eliminate that start, and obviously we can't eliminate history, but you go back to May 1st and then prior to that Houston start, okay, he has a 2.70 ERA. He put April, he honestly wasn't really good after the impressive shutout performance of the Angels on opening day. He was getting banged around in April. At one point, he led the majors in walks, to your point. However, he has come down a tick. His last 3 starts, he's walked just one batter in each of those 3 starts. Yeah. So that's the kind of
improvement, right? Just as long as he's on the uptick from improvement.
Yeah, but okay, so he got banged up pretty good in the last start, but the walks were down. It has been a roller coaster, but he does take the ball every 5th day. He shouldn't be rewarded for that. That feels like a C when you do that, when you're doing your job. I'll give you a C plus. He's been thrust into a role. He was the opening day starter on a rotation that lacked any type of real veteran depth and experience. So I'm really curious to see, can he take that 4.71 ERA and bring that thing closer to 4 as we get into the second half, and maybe our grades change on him. But Sean Burke, I've liked some of the things. I don't like all of the things. Control, definitely an issue with him. Let's see that continue to dip down as we continue. Let's go with Grant Taylor. Small sample size. Everyone loves the arm. There's been comps to closers that shouldn't be named because I'm not. You know what? Do you remember the player comps that you were given when you came out?
Are you talking about for myself?
Yeah.
I mean, it was just as far as like athleticism wise. I mean, rawness, like the Torrey Hunters and Mike Camerons. I wasn't like a great baseball player, right? I wasn't like, I'm not going to hit 380 with 30 and like that. For me, I was new to the hitting thing. I was a two-way guy my whole career, mostly a pitcher, and then kind of morphed into that my senior year of high school into college. But I was always like that pitcher's mentality. So Torrey Hunter, I think, did an exceptional job of really having better at-bats and hitting for higher average as his career progressed and becoming a more dangerous hitter to complement his freaking Gold Glove center field ability, right? But that's one thing with me, man, is I wish I would have just stuck with like, hey, I'm a freak athlete. I'm going to go get fastballs and pitches out of the plate and just go with it. Shoot, I'll take 250 with 20 and 60 every year. That gets you paid. For me, I was like, I gotta make sure I gotta hit a ball to right center. I gotta hit a base hit in the 4 hole. It's like, why? So went off on a tangent there. Sorry. But to your point on the comp, the grade, I didn't give Grant Taylor a grade. I think it's too soon to tell, but he does one thing, Guff, that's incredible, and not a lot of pitchers can do it. Yes, he throws 97, 99. He's got a tremendous arm, but he throws these 4-seam fastballs. And depending on who's behind the plate, hopefully Carroll gets better. Teal might be back there, but he throws 4-seam fastballs that out of his hand, even us watching at home, they'll like, oh, that ball's down. Like it's going to be 3-4 balls below the knee, and it just maintains the same plane, right? So instead of going like this, it will just stay there because he throws so hard. He probably has an exceptionally high spin rate. So he'll steal a lot of first strike calls and probably strike 3 looking calls because the hitter will give up on it. He'll think it's down, but because he throws so hard, some pitchers just have that heavy baseball where it just maintains plane and it doesn't sink. So that's something he does exceptionally well, and I think it'll be very successful for him at this level.
Reason I asked you about comps is because I think they're completely unfair. I think they're mostly unfair to the young player, and they're not really that fair to the all-star / Hall of Famer that you're comparing them to either. I think that's all earned and not given, and comps are given, and people like to throw them out for the flashy, hey, click here, watch this. Yeah. And it's an impossible expectation to live up to. Grant Taylor has been labeled, you put the big names, the Class A's, I heard Mariano because of the way he falls 7 feet forward on the mound. I heard Bannister on the score talking about how he's different and he lines up with some of those guys. So that's why I think it's unfair. He has to be an incomplete. There's no other grade you can really give him right now. Even if he had a 0 ERA in his first 4 innings, it'd have to be, or 3 innings. He pitched 3 innings. It'd have to be an incomplete. I'm excited to see. I want him to stay here, even if he gets banged up a little bit. I want his high leverage, high talent arm to continue in the bullpen the rest of the way. So I know they're managing these guys' innings. I hope that he's here to stay until whatever innings limit he has for the year, until he hits that. I hope it's here in Chicago.
Sure. Yeah, he'll be fun to watch. But mark my words, though, he'll steal strikes early in at bats because guys will give up on the fastball down. And then it'll freeze some guys, especially righties. They'll be like, that ball's down and in, and it will just maintain playing. But I think he does an exceptional job of elevating late, too. And that pitch that looks like, oh, shoot, we thought that ball was down. So this one that's probably just under the peck, like looks like a meatball, and it's going to be tough to hit at 99. They all are.
All right, so now let's do the last one, the last of the Rule 5s, the best surprise of the entire White Sox season. And quite frankly, I think one of the biggest surprises and best stories of Major League Baseball season that won't get talked about for obvious reasons because the White Sox are up the tracks. But I expect at this point, and I don't see an exception to this, I think Shane Smith's in Atlanta at the All-Star game representing the Chicago White Sox. So with that little lead-in, Shane Smith, BA, this was his last start, was the first start of his career that he allowed more than 3 earned runs, which is incredible.
Yeah, I mean, he's been super fun to watch. I gave him an A-, and I only put the minus in there because every pitcher will tell you, unless you're the Marianos, the DeGroms, those guys are just wipe out, like 22-4, they're just cleaning everyone's clock all year. Then you give yourself an A+. But he's been exceptional. I wrote down in the notes here, I just said he's checked every single box the White Sox have asked him to check and more. So congrats to him. There's no doubt he'll be an all-star this year, and I think he's been the one kind of shining light of the White Sox season where they could go, please, dear God, don't trade him.
God, I've actually brought that up to people in the White Sox organization. I'd be very surprised. I really would be. I'd be very surprised. I brought it up to Davis Martin because I've heard his name linked to trade rumors. I brought it up to him. He's a little bit older. He understands it, but he hopes to stay here. They need to at some point start building. I don't want that. He's an A. He's an A for me. I know I've given an A and 2 A-, and both of them are to the Rule. 2 of them are to the Rule 5 guys. And quite frankly, when you're having the success of the 2 of those guys off of Rule 5, the Milwaukee Brewers are kicking themselves right now, letting Shane Smith go. Because
but you know what though? Like sometimes you look at that and you could say, "Oh man, I can't believe we let that guy go." But it's like, let's say Tim Anderson would have went over to the Angels and had a great year and got back on track. It's like it's what must be done. It's what's necessary 100%. For both parties to move on.
Totally agree. Same for Miguel Vargas. Needed to move on from the Dodgers. It wasn't going to work out. So I like it. Like the last thing I want to bring up to you before we wrap this up. We have 8 guys that we just graded that are in Chicago. Like that to me is awesome because it's very un-old regime, meaning there was so much service time talk.
Yeah.
This regime is like I know they care about it and Super 2 status and all that stuff, but what they're like, this guy's ready to cook. Let's eat and let's do it together. Let's have the band of brothers. Caro and Mydroth came up early. You had the Rule 5 guys and Smith and Vassell. And you're going to see stages. This report card is going to lengthen for us in the second half. We're going to see more names come up. And I think while the White Sox record isn't really fun, at least I think that's another sign that things are a little bit different in this front office going forward, at least to me.
Yeah. They're off to a slightly better pace than they were last year, Guff. And I think you're going to end up winning this side bet, right, of how many wins. I said 63. I think you said 50-something. So they're on pace. And, again, there's some bright spots to be excited about. There's a different feel. But, man, I just really hope that the Mydroths can finish strong. The Caro, Elko come up and hit 10 home runs in the second half. Start showing people what he can do and hit at a high level. He's not just a power hitter. The guy can really hit.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like, now let's see these report cards actually improve and not take a step back because That's the thing that we need to look out for. Time to take a quick time out about something serious. We've all said it before. If only I'd slowed down. The Illinois Tollway's new campaign is called If Only, and it's a powerful reminder that speeding doesn't just put you at risk. It affects everyone on the road. Every crash leaves someone wishing they had done things differently. So take the extra time, slow down, save lives. Lives, including yours, depend on it. We're proud to have the Illinois Tollway here on the White Sox Recap Podcast. BA, I thought this was a fun one because we're right there. We're not quite at that 81 game mark, but we're staring at it. It's in the face. We're looking at it right in the face. And I think there's going to be a lot more to talk about here in the next 4 to 6 weeks with the trade deadline, the All-Star break. And I thought it was, with 8 guys, it was a good time to throw some letter grades on here and give some progress reports.
This is a lot of fun, man. This and the Q&A with the fans. I always have a blast with that. I wish we do. I hope we do more of it. I know the guy that puts the shows together. I'm looking at him. So we should, you know what we should do? Shoot, you should give 5 potential show topics to the fans and see which one they choose. That'd be cool.
Whoa, look at you coming up with he's looking for the producer credit.
Contact Carl's what they call me.
He's looking for the producer credit. I like it. BA, this is fun.
I'll take an AP.
Yeah. Hey, senior VP. How about that?
That's cool.
All right. This has been the White Sox Recap Podcast. We appreciate you watching on YouTube or wherever you download or subscribe to podcasts. Make sure you click that bell so you can get the notification every single time we drop a new episode, whether it's audio or here on YouTube. And if you're not already subscribing to the recap, make sure you do that as well. For Brian Anderson, I'm Ryan McGuffey. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening on this edition of the White Sox Recap Podcast brought to you by the Illinois Tollway. We'll see you next time.